Was Jesus a Buddhist? It is not as absurd of a thought as it seems. He was a Jew, a prophet, a healer, a Messiah, the Son of God. But between all of this, there is some evidence that suggests that he was possibly also a Buddhist. The question isn't if he studied Buddhism or not, it's more of how much influence Buddhism had on his teachings. Let's look into some of the commonalities between Buddha and Jesus, or Yeshua, as we call him. Both had virgin births, as per the stories, and being part of the divine birth. Both as child astounded their teachers with their divine knowledge. Both of them were tempted by devil while alone and resisted. Both began ministry at 30 years of age. Both were joined by disciples of lower classes. Both were disregarded and attacked by dominant religious elites. In case of Jesus, those were Pharisees. In case of Buddha, these were Brahmins. And at the death, they both dispatched disciples to preach in other areas. So far the commonalities look alright, but what about their message? Well, these aren't too far apart from each other either. Perishable is a city built on sand, is what Buddha said, while Jesus said, a foolish man which built his house on sand. Bible says, and he himself bore our sins in his body on the cross, so that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. Meanwhile, Buddha says, let all sins that were committed in this world fall on me, that the world may be delivered. There are these and many more commonalities, but we can't really conclude from just this that one was influenced by another. We need more. Let's jump into some historical facts. But before that, let's check the status of religions in the world stage during the times of Jesus the Christ. Persia was mostly Zoroastrian during these times. India was a mixture of some Buddhist, some Jain, and some Hindu, and also many tribal sects. China had native folk religions. Judea, that is modern day Palestine, it was under Roman rule. Romans were pagan, but Judea wasn't. It was Jewish. But also, there were many early Jewish and Christian sects around Dead Sea, including some form of Gnostics. Islam and Christianity were yet to exist. Now looking into Buddhism, it was a religion of traders. Mauryan rulers created and maintained the trade network throughout the Indian subcontinent. And after their rule, the trade routes expanded outside of India. Buddhism spread and thrived along these trade routes, reaching all the way to China in the east, but most importantly, to the Alexandria and Middle East in the west. Just some time ago, we discovered a statue of Buddha in Egypt, in the town of Bernike. It is an amazing discovery which tells us Buddhism existed and thrived in the region of Egypt, Judea, and around it. The statue itself was carved in Egypt, which makes this discovery even more fascinating. Amongst all of this, there was this so-called Jewish sect of Therapeu. These were mostly located in this region of the world. Now what we know about Therapeu is a second-hand account from Philo of Alexandria. Even though I call this a Jewish sect, even Philo was unsure about their origin. He mentions that these Therapeu were not only present in Alexandria, but all across the ancient world. Weird. Is he talking about Buddhism? Now let's talk about the word Therapeu itself. The etymology of this word is closer to another word that we know of. Yes, you heard it right. Theravada, one of the earliest school of Buddhism spread by the missionaries of Emperor Ashoka. These Therapeu groups, they were described as committing to the ascetic life, just like the Buddhist monks. These men were said to have abandoned their property without being influenced by any predominant attraction, as per the writing. Well, that's just like Theravada monks. Early Christian authors such as Eusebius of Caesarea, about 3 centuries after these monks were lost to time, mentions Therapeu as the first Christian monks, identifying their renunciation of property, chastity, fasting, and solitary lives with the cenobitic idea of Christian monks. You see that, right? The Buddhist monks of Alexandria were called first Christian monks. Buddhist monks were being credited to essentially kickstarting Christianity. Now let's look at our friend Jesus Christ Superstar and see how his early life looked like. After the birth of Jesus, we know that for a few years, he and his family fled to Egypt and eventually settled in Nazareth, modern day Palestine. We do have information about his early years, till he becomes 12, and then he disappears from the story, only to appear when he turns 30 and gets baptized by John the Baptist, his cousin. So we have him missing for about 18 years. What was he up to during all these years? Bible has almost no mentions of these times. Some scholars do mention that Jesus spent these missing years in India, maybe in Gandhara, maybe in Kashmir. I personally find this theory foolish. There is literally no historical backing to this, so we can skip these theories. But even though he did not travel all the way to India, does not mean he was not traveling and was just settled down in Nazareth. Jesus the man, he had to study from somewhere. So where did he study? Did he study all his teachings from the Buddhist monks of Alexandria? Honestly, I don't have a solid proof to tell you that he did. This is pure speculation from my side, the romanticism of history from my side. But hear me out. If what we speculate here is true, and the missing years of Jesus of Nazareth, he was being taught by the monks of Buddha, that eventually kickstarted the whole monotheistic doctrine in the whole world, created the biggest, most prominent religion in the world. If it is true, it all gets credited to Buddha himself. Let's set the scene. The world was a pagan place, dominated by the gods of the elements: fire, thunder, rain, and ocean. From the times of the Greeks and Romans, even before, humanity was captivated by these elemental forces. It's the natural progression of our species. In our earliest days, we were at the mercy of the elements, so it made sense for us to personify them, to make gods out of them. In essence, humans in their most natural state are polytheistic. We are pagans. But here's the twist. As society advances, as we begin to control the elements that once ruled us, those gods we used to worship become far more reachable, far less awe-inspiring. For a society that has mastered the elements, spirituality must evolve to something beyond, whether you call it the chakra of life, the one supreme god, monotheism, or even non-theism. This elevated spirituality is the next step in human evolution. And if our speculation holds any weight, then this seismic shift in spirituality can all be traced back to one man, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. Now take everything I have just said with a grain of salt. Most of this has minimal historical backing. It's more of a romanticized theory suggesting that Christianity could have its roots in Buddhism. But just imagine, if it's true, what a story that would be. And just to add a side note, when the 19th century Christian missionaries were translating Buddhist texts, they began to call Buddhism the Christianity of the East. But Buddhism came first, 500 years before the Christ, and most probably had a strong influence on Jesus and his teachings, and thus the Christianity itself. Maybe the more accurate dubbing is to call Christianity the Buddhism of the West. Thank you for watching and see you next time.